and I actually on the walk over here realized that I've known Ebony for her full 4 years here at Augustana. And it's been quite the wonderful journey to meet her as a somewhat naive freshman, but a freshman who really struck me as being incredibly ambitious. As a matter of fact, as I was walking over here, I was thinking the one thing that I will never forget about Ebony is that she embodies a fight against complacency. So if I was a little bit slow in getting something done that she had requested, she would remind me, not on a weekly basis, not even every other day, but almost get a little email, have you done this yet? Or do you have any ideas about how we might get this done? And I think as a freshman, having that as my first impression actually explains why it is that she has accomplished these many, many wonderful things that I'm about to share with you. So, and again, thinking about how I might best introduce her, I actually thought about a book that I've studied quite a bit. It's written by a University of Notre Dame sociologist. His name is Christian Smith. He's quite well known. And he wrote a book in 2012 that culminates, or that summarizes a lot of the research that he's done for the past 8 to 10 years. That book is called Lost in Transition. And that book speaks to a category of adults he calls emerging adults, those between 18 and 22 years old. And he surveyed quite a large number of them. And his survey results to people of my age are pretty scary. All right? These young adults, these emerging adults, are lost in the transition between high school and when they finish college. And they're lost in the transition in the sense that they don't have any moral anchors. They don't engage socially or politically. Their civic engagement is basically lacking, and all of this is supported by empirical evidence, really top-notch empirical evidence. So I thought to myself, you know what? He needs to meet Ebony Allen. Now, of course, I'm a philosopher, and I realize that that's a hasty generalization, as I'm sure you do as well. But you know what? He needs to meet more Augustana students. We have super achievers among our students, and I'm really happy and honored to be able to introduce Ebony as one of those. So let me just share with you a couple of highlights from her resume. And again, I am probably going to refer to about 10% of what she could claim to have accomplished since I first met her as a freshman. So in addition to having a major in philosophy, she has minors in ethics, political science, and women and gender studies. She also is an alum of the Texas Medical Center program, and you'll hear actually a lot about that today. She worked in the vice president's office of Baylor College of Medicine, and she also worked in the Center for Globalization at Baylor. She's an admissions ambassador. She works in the Chicago mentoring program. She's a peer mentor. She's on SGA, not as a passive observer, but as a student representative and as a judicial member, Chief Justice as it turns out. She's involved in multicultural programming board here on campus. She's a Royal Neighbors of America member. She's active on the Center for the Study of Ethics here on campus. And then, in terms of even larger accomplishments, this summer she was accepted into Yale University's Summer Institute of Bioethics. That's a nationally competitive program. She is a certified befriender at Unity Point Health, and that actually involves a 10-week certification program. And most of the people who go through that certification program are 30, 40, 50 years old. She managed it at, 20, which is absolutely astounding. Also, finally, she was actually selected, one of her papers was selected for presentation, again at a national competition, the National Undergraduate Bioethics Conference, which was held at Loyola University in Chicago. So I could go on, and I could go on, and I could go on, but I'm turning it over to you so that you can share your wonderful accomplishments.
Thank you, Dr. Sturl. So as you guys probably already know from my abstract and what you see on the screen, my presentation that I'm presenting to you guys today is called Behind the Science. And I have two objectives in mind. The first is, what exactly do I mean by behind the science? And here I would suggest that medicine is not just about the doctors, it's not just about the nurses, and it's not just about the scientists. It's also people behind the science that help make everything else possible. The second thing I want to talk about is how exactly did I become passionate about working in health law and policy and bioethics? And in order to do that, I want to help the audience, or those in the audience that don't know what they want to major in, help them figure out how to pick their major in the first place. So the first thing I want to talk about is behind the science. And this past summer, as Dr. Storrell talked already about it, is I interned at Texas Medical Center. For those who don't know what the Texas Medical Center is, it's the world's largest medical complex, literally in the world. And there I worked at Baylor College of Medicine. In this picture, you'll see this cream building. It's the main entrance of the building, and it's called the Kohler building. That's actually where the vice president's office is, and that was my main building while on the campus. But while at Baylor College of Medicine, I was part of the SMART program. So, SMART program stands for Summer Medical and Research Training Program. It is developed to provide biomedical summer research, projects for undergraduates. It's a supportive environment for supplemental educational activities. But beyond this, the program offers a free GRE prep workshop, a career development activities, daily seminars designed for undergraduates with showcasing like cutting edge research that's being done that hasn't even been released to the public yet. But on top of all of this, it showed educational movies that had science bases behind them, and it paid students for their help within the biomedical research area. So, as I said, I was part of the SMART program, but the funny thing is, I was kind of the odd one out. And I call myself the odd one out because out of 86 of the participants, I was the only one to not work in the lab. In addition to not working in the lab, I didn't work with the GFPs, pipettes, or anything of the sort. And for those of you who don't know what GFPs are, they are green fluorescent proteins. But beyond this, I didn't have to wait to deal with waiting on test results, and I couldn't wear jeans. And this might seem like funny, like, oh, she can't wear jeans, but no, every single day I had to wear in business attire. So just so you guys can get a little perspective about it, these are just some of the participants in the summer program. As you see, literally everyone is wearing jeans. And in the second row, you see me with a dress and a cardigan. Okay. It's very humid there too, just so you guys know. But instead of working in a lab, my lab was a desk, and my GFPs were documents. And though I did not work in a lab, and I didn't know a lot about scientific concepts, methods, and experimental techniques, I learned a lot about myself and science while at Baylor because of the opportunities that they presented for us. And an example of this is the actual letters GFP. I had no idea what that was at all until I listened in on a seminar provided by the SMART program. So, if I didn't work in the lab, what did I do? My main focus was projects for Baylor Global Initiatives. And at first, while I was there, it was called the Center for Globalization. They just changed the name right after I left, but it's still the exact same thing. So it serves many roles, and the primary objective is basically medical education. And as you can see, I kind of put a star next to it because this is a prime example of working behind the science. But specifically, I was assigned to create documents for a potential collaboration between Baylor College of Medicine and the Cogito Scholarship Foundation. And this foundation provides scholarships to the best schools in the world to leaders of tomorrow from the most underprivileged communities in the Middle East and in North Africa. The documents I created for the program included a budget analysis sheet, which had all the projected expenses. And if you guys don't know some of the projected expenses, an example would that be is bringing scholars from their nation to Houston, and if they were placed in a particular school that had uniforms, how much those uniforms would cost. That particular budget would be on the actual sheet itself. So on top of that, I looked at the curriculum of all the possible schools that the scholars would attend. So what the curriculum consisted of, the start dates, the end dates, the break dates, all of that. I also played a role in host family process selection. I created a timeline for all the major steps that were needed in order to place the scholars there, and basically at the part of their arrival and the possible avenues that they would go after they finished high school, like possible fundings that they would have. But beyond this, I created even more documents. So I helped with Baylor's accreditation with the SACs, and an example of this is the QEP topic selection process. I did strategic plan spreadsheet, a global demonstration grants spreadsheet, a global health conference list, competitive analysis for research training program, and just a few more, but I don't want to bore you all. So overall, I learned what it takes to be a project manager in an administrative office environment and how to effectively work well with others in projects. But besides that, what did I learn as a whole? What I learned was that there are people who do a lot for science and medicine, even though they are not necessarily doctors, nurses, or scientists. Yet they are still part of the health field at medical institutions and at hospitals. An example of this are those who worked in administrative professionals. And the name I gave is my mentor, Sarah Michelle, who has a master in public health, and she's a senior project manager at Baylor College. And though she's not a scientist or researcher, she still has her foot in the health field, and she does contribute a lot to Baylor itself. On top of this, there are also those in academics, like professors and those who create medical education programs. So this leads me to my second main point of how exactly to choose a major. So I have a quick little video that I want to show you guys, and literally it's only a minute and 30 seconds. You won't be too bored.
How to pick your major. Visualize. What is a major? A major is a collection of courses that are meant to focus your learning within a field of study. The idea is to help you graduate with the right skills for your chosen profession. The sooner you know your major, the better. The last thing you want to do is waste unnecessary time and money for classes you don't really need. Don't panic. Lots of people don't know what they want to major in. But here are 5 tips that can help you figure it out. Tip number 1, seek inspiration. Your major will most likely define your career, and your career can definitely define your way of life. And that's a big deal, so make sure you counsel with those you trust. Tip number 2, consider everything. College is different than high school. Some things you once thought were boring can actually turn out to be very interesting. Keep an open mind, and you might make a discovery. Tip number 3, identify talents and interests. Some skills come naturally, but others require practice and hard work. Think about what you're good at, what you enjoy. Would you enjoy doing that for a living? As Mark Twain once put it, work and play are words used to describe the same thing under differing conditions. Tip number 4, explore available resources. The internet is full of resources to help you choose a major or career path. Tip number 5, in-depth career exploration. Career academic counselors. These are people who can help walk you through special assessments that can help determine possible career choices. Most schools in the U.S. offer these kinds of counselors. I have awesome tips to give you a head start.
So what's the point of me even showing you that video? Trust me, you don't have to answer, that was rhetorical. But I want to point out just a couple of things. First, figure out what you're passionate about, what you're interested in. When that happens, it will be easier to pick a major. If you do not know what you're passionate about, well, take the time to explore, because that's what college is all about. Okay, and this brings me to Augustana. So one of the reasons why I put this slide in is because Augustana is a liberal arts school. And the best part about it is that we have to take different perspectives in order to graduate. This helps us become well-rounded and to be able to look at problems that we have to face through different perspectives. Another thing about Augustana is because we have to take various classes, we can see what our interest is in a particular discipline versus what we're not interested in. But also, there's a possibility of stumbling upon a discipline that you never thought that you would enjoy, like me and myself, which I will talk about in the next slide, and then you end up falling in love with it. The last point I want to talk about Augustana is that it has over 100 ways to get involved. And the best way to do it is not only get involved in your classroom by becoming engaged with the professor and those within the classroom itself, but take the time to get to know people outside of the classroom as well and figure out your interests that way. So, what are my interests? I've always been interested in law and ethics. And the first time I became interested in law was actually in 3rd grade, where I was part of my first mock trial. It was called the bubblegum trial, so it's a little funny, but I was a witness for the defense side, and what made me love that was the questions that I were able to answer. Not only that, but how engaged I was able to be in it. And the last thing is because it was actually in our city's courthouse. So that really got me interested in law in the first place. And then when it came to 6th grade, I tried to figure out what in the world, why did I become interested in law in the first place? What is it that particularly interests me? And the things that I thought about is love the fact that it was corporate law, criminal law, and medical law. Each all had a different thing about it and a different aspects, but they all had ethical issues attached to them as well. Such as the criminal law, it had a death penalty attached to it, and that's something that interested me. So, what did I do? I asked a lot of questions. I'm pretty sure asking why got on my parents' nerves. I always ask why, and I always ask my teachers why. But that's what kept me engaged, and that's what interested me. The last thing I did was, when I was in high school, I played in more mock trials. I took legal classes, the ones that were offered, like business law, and I took speech classes as well. In college, my main focus was going to law school. So I naturally gravitated towards political science. But after taking a lot of poli-sci classes within my first year, I realized that it just wasn't for me. The only thing I really liked about political science was the legal aspect of it. And it was my sophomore year when I had to think about a PH perspective. I know everybody's like, oh yeah, those perspectives, we know about those. But I was looking at classes in the registrar and I saw social ethics. And I was like, okay, I never took a philosophy course. Well, why should I do this? But I looked at the description and it interested me. And I ended up having it with Steve Gould, who's in the audience today. But it was because of that class that I first fell in love with philosophy. And the following term, which is the winter term, I took 2 more philosophy classes. It was life and death and modern philosophy. And after just having 3 classes of philosophy under my belt, I took philosophy as my major and dropped poli-sci down as a minor so I could just focus on the legal aspect of it. Now, when it comes to me triple minoring, you already know that I'm a poli-sci minor. But what about the ethics and the women's gender studies? As I already said, I was always interested in ethics. So here, I explored the courses. I took ethics courses with Dr. Lee, who's also in the audience today. And after just having a couple of those, I ended up having ethics as a minor. And then when it came to women and gender studies, I first was interested in it in my first year after taking LSFY 102, Freaks and Geeks. So that's kind of a little bit of background of how I had philosophy as a major and how I'm triple minor now. So junior year is when everything really changed for me. It's when I started to figure out what did I really want to do with my life. And after having the experiences that I did, the first thing that I thought about was sticking with health law and health policy and bioethics, the things that interested me the most. And it was really after taking medical ethics, becoming a certified befriender at Unity Point Health Trinity, and being able to have that one-on-one interaction with patients, and my experience at Baylor that made me want to do what I'm doing now. So, for my main points of what I have so far, first of all, I never knew I was interested in philosophy or women and gender studies. The point is that I followed my interests. 2, it's okay to not know exactly what you want to do yet. Don't feel the pressure, just take things that interest you, but don't take too long because you don't want to be a 6-year senior. Now, the third thing is it's okay to change your major. Most people do, I did, and I'm perfectly fine. Now, this is the most main point I should have started, I should have bolded it, but the thing is, you need to pick your major. Don't let your parents pick it, because a lot of people come into college and say, oh, my mother wants me to be a doctor, or my father wants me to be a doctor. No, you need to decide what you want to do in life, because that will lead you on a path to happiness. So, the main points to follow is to follow your passions, because once you do that, you'll become successful in what you do because you'll love what you do. Second, you'll never work a day in your life. The third point is you will find a peaceful life doing what you love. And where I am now, because I followed my passions, because I worked hard, and because I was so engaged in what I was doing and I wasn't passive about my education, as Dr. Sorrell said, I was a go-getter. I was curious. I was not the one that just didn't say anything in class. If I had questions, I would ask that. And so now I'm able to go to Yale to study bioethics, something that I absolutely love. And with that, I'll leave you guys with one last video. It's only like 3.5 minutes long, but I thought it was good.
You know why people do what they do? The people who go after this stuff, what makes it worth it? It's got to be your passion. You got to love it, ladies and gentlemen. You got to love it. It's got to be what you are supposed to do. You want to sing, even though they want to invite you to Carnegie Hall, you're going to sing to anybody that listens to you, including singing to yourself. I used to talk to my class when nobody else would listen to me. You got to write, even if no one published your book, write, because that was given to you to do. You do what it is you're supposed to. You're supposed to build something, you're supposed to create something. I don't know how to do it. Learn. Do whatever's required. Just go out there. If possible, you can get what you want. It's necessary if you want, you got to go into action. You got to be willing to experiment. You got to be willing to fail and to succeed. You got to be willing to form and develop new relationships. It's you, it's on you. You got to make that happen. Nobody's going to bring it to you on a silver platter and say, here's your dream manifested. No, it's hard. Yes, it's hard. It's difficult. That's right. And it's worth it. Well, here's what I'm suggesting to you. That when you're working, you have a wall to break through. Let's say a friend of mine who runs a marathon. He said, when he's running the 26-mile marathon, he said, let's say that hypothetically, that 18th mile is the wall. He said, Les, when you get there and you're running, he said, everything in you is telling you to stop, to give up. Every muscle is aching. And you're saying to yourself, I can't do it. I can't do it. And you just keep on, and you keep on, and you keep on. It seems like you're moving in slow motion. And then eventually when you break through that 18-mile wall, then you know it's like done and you're on automatic and you glide on in. And you know it's there. You know you're going to get to the finish line. And we've all had experiences where we were working on something. And we knew it was possible. And we did those things that were necessary to bring it to reality. We took the responsibility to make it happen. Other people couldn't see it. A lot of people didn't believe it. You were attacked. You were criticized. People were opposing you. But you kept on doing it. It was hard. It was rough. It was difficult. But to you, it was worth it. And eventually you got to a level you know, can't nothing stop me now. I'm on the move. I'm on the move.
And with that, is there any questions? Any at all? What's after Yale? I'm actually currently applying to a medical humanities program at University of Rochester. Oh, and besides that, I still want to go to law school to study health law and policy. Any other questions?
So you seem so confident right now. Were there any self-doubts? Were there any, like, maybe I can't do this, maybe I don't know what I really want to do, that people struggle with?
I think it wasn't more so that. It was more so of my parents, or not even just my parents, but my family itself trying to push me and continue to be like, okay, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do with your life? And it's so funny because a lot of other students would be like telling their parents that, okay, I'll figure out what I want to do in my life. But instead of me saying exactly what I wanted to do, I always told them that I was going to follow my passions. And that was it. And after a while, they started to trust me and believe that. And because of that, they're very supportive of everything I wanted to do. So there wasn't really a time where I felt like, oh, I don't exactly know what I want to do, because even when I was younger, as I said, I always had those burning questions within me, and I always wanted to do something. So I never really had to face that problem, but I do recognize that a lot of other students do have to face that. And that's why I said the best thing that you can do is follow your interests. If you don't know what your interests are, get more involved, and that's how you can figure out what you really want to do.
So the last video you showed talked about hitting a point where you need to break through a wall. Was there a time in your time at Augustana or in high school that you had to break through a wall, and how did you do it?
Final sweep. I mean, that's definitely, I think we all hit those walls when we're up 24/7, like for 3 days straight, barely eating good food, at least. We're in junk food because we're eating pretzels and studying, and that's all we really care about. But I think the main point of what helped me is having those little intervals of sleep and then waking up and knowing that there was a purpose to what I was doing and that it was contributing to a larger whole.
So we were lucky enough to get you here at Augustana. How did we get you?
That's a great question. Because I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, so it's 4.5 hours away from here. I never heard of Augustana. I didn't know anyone in my school that was from here or went here at all. But they kept sending me things in the mail. And after a while, I was like, okay, I can check out the school. So I went on the website. I figured I really liked what it had to offer. So I came up here with my parents one day, took a tour around it, talked to people, and after that I just took a little leap of faith, kind of. And I'm glad I did it because I absolutely love it here. Any other questions? Yeah.
So Ebony, you know I like to ask off-the-wall questions, so here's an off-the-wall question. Let's fast forward ahead 45 years, and you're at your retirement. What would you like them to say you did with your life?
I would like them to say that I definitely had goals, and within those goals I wasn't afraid to fail. Because there will be times when you definitely do fail, and that's just part of growing. I've had a lot of struggles in my life, a lot of backsets, but at the end of the day, I still had a goal in mind, and I just let that help me and foster me, and as long as I had that as my little end point, I just kept going. Any last other questions for me?
Well, let me ask you, you've achieved quite a bit, and what people may not know about you is how much you give of yourself to others, particularly as a mentor. So tell me a little about how you balance that when you've achieved all this for yourself as well, but you've always given back. So what motivates you to do that, and how do you balance it?
I think it's just me as a person itself. I've always been, like I said, motivated by law ethics, and within ethics, that a lot of that is about connecting with people. It's about the broader of humanity and things of that nature. And I've always been particularly interested in humanities and social sciences and the connections that we have and share with people and just the world in general. So that's always been something that I've felt strongly about. No matter if somebody gave me the time of day, I don't care, I still gave them the time of day itself. And another aspect, I think, of it is actually being a philosophy major itself. I don't know if it's philosophy or not, but I take a little bit of time for myself, and I think that's important for everybody to do no matter what you do. You need to have that little bit of time for yourself. And for me, I just go in my room, I can read a book or hang out with friends or family. So that's how I balance it. Any last questions?
So, I mean, you just mentioned, I mean, you really are drawn more to the social sciences, the humanities. You're going into the areas of bioethics, of medical ethics, where you've got to have that strong understanding of the science as well. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to speak the language. How, where are you in relationship to that realm, that part, those kinds of questions you're going to be dealing with?
Okay. That's a great question. I think that's one of the main reasons why I am focusing on medical humanities itself, is because it will help me get those healthcare concepts down and those scientific concepts down that I'm not able to know myself because I didn't take chemistry here, I didn't take biology here. The only thing I knew is what I basically taught myself. So going into medical humanities, that will help give me more of the medical concept, the background within itself. And then while at Yale, I can talk to people within the profession, because when I'm studying bioethics there, some of my classmates are actually medical doctors and professionals in the legal field of medical law. So asking them to and being able to relate and take their advice, I can still get a little bit that there too.
You know, maybe you could also tell us a little bit about this skill called listening that you've learned and that you've reflected upon quite frequently.
Okay. Well, listening is a skill that I don't think a lot of people have, and that might sound a little bit blunt, but I've noticed it just even when I was younger and now. You would say something to somebody, and the only thing that they would care about is only listening to enough for you to respond back to them. And that's basically it. That's how we listen nowadays. But for me, it's not just about how I'm going to respond to what somebody is saying. It's about actually grasping what they're saying, so I don't have to constantly ask them over and over again, okay, what do you want to talk about, or what do you want to do? So it's something that's interactive, and I think it is a skill that some people possess, but at the same time, you can be able to cultivate that by trying to listen and trying to be quiet itself and just grasp what someone else is saying. Any other last questions? Okay. Well, thank you guys.